Yeah, here we go now, baby. We are right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Friday edition of Before You Bet right here on the Covers YouTube and X channels. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like and smash that subscribe button right down there. Okay, great big show coming up today. Pretty good looking night in the NBA. We're coming off a night, John and I, when we were the almost Sweet Boys. We combined to go 5-1. So we'll look to put together another winning night here for you guys this evening. So we have 6 total bets between the two of us, a couple different topics to kick around in the NBA here as well. If you guys want to participate in the show, very easy to do so. Hit up that live chat on YouTube, on X. Let us know what you like in the association this evening. If you're looking for Super Bowl content, stay tuned. Later on today, we're going to be posting our Before You Bet Super Bowl Best Bets Betting Special. Say that 3 times quick. That'll be up with myself, Jingles, Hitman, Jon Metler, later on in the day here on Friday. A nice convenient place with all of our best bets for the big game. Okay, let's get right into it. Let's bring in our guy, Jon Metler, the Magic Ass Man, coming off of a sweep on the show yesterday. Jon, how are we making out?
Pretty good. I can tell you right now, my dog is like a minus whatever Saquon Barkley is to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. That's what she is to bark on the show because she's laying on my feet. Okay. It's like raining muddy outside, so I can't let her out. And she's just side-eyeing me right now because she wants to go outside. So she's quiet right now, but if you hear bark, it's definitely her.
Okay, this is an animal-friendly program, so we do not mind. Okay, so let's talk this. The All-Star reserves were named last night, so let's kind of go through these. I want to throw something else at you, then we'll get into our best bets. So we know the starters for the East: Giannis, Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Karl-Anthony Towns. Reserves named yesterday: Jaylen Brown, Pascal Siakam, Darius Garland, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Damian Lillard, Tyler Hero. So let's do the East first. Who do you think got snubbed, and whose spot should they be taking?
Yeah, I thought the East was going to be pretty, I thought I had it right, and I thought it was going to be pretty straightforward. And then they put in Tyler Hero over Trae Young, and that was the one I was very surprised about. I mean, Tyler Hero's having a good year. All these guys, you argue about one guy being in, one guy being out. I just felt like Trae Young leads the NBA in assists. So they left out the guy who leads the NBA in rebounds and Domantas Sabonis, and who leads the NBA in assists in Trae Young. And the thing that really shocked me about the Trae Young thing is you're trying to build this NBA Cup up. You're trying to make it like a meaningful tournament. And Trae Young led his team to the semifinals in Las Vegas in the first half of the season. You're judging them off the first half of the season. And the Atlanta Hawks had the first overall pick. I don't know. I was really shocked. Trae Young, I mean, that's kind of how his career has gone. He gets no respect across the league. I personally think he's a really good player. I think if you dropped him onto any team, your offense just dramatically improves. I think you could put him with any players and all of a sudden they start scoring more points. Just the other one, I guess Tyrese Maxey also could have been in there. The 76ers are so far down record wise that I had no problem with him with him being left off. I was just shocked. Tyler Hero's having a good year. I just thought Trae Young should have been there for the East.
Yeah, what are you going to do? I mean, aside from expand the rosters, what are you going to have, 20 guys on each side? Some people saying LaMelo Ball probably should have got in.
But he's so far down standings-wise. It's just I have no issue him not being there either.
Yeah, I think that's a consideration. Guys, get the guys on the winning teams in. Okay, let's take a look at the West. So a lot of the old guards starting here: Steph Curry, KD, LeBron, SGA, and Jokic. We knew those guys. Now the reserves named last night: Anthony Edwards, Anthony Davis, James Harden, Jaren Jackson Jr., Sengun, Jalen Williams, and Wemby playing in his first All-Star game. Any issues? Any big-time snubs out of the West?
Yeah, this is the one I thought there would be. I would have issues with, and I actually went 7 for 7 predicting yesterday. I was saying you have to have someone from the Clippers, and I thought it would be James Harden. He gets in there. I thought you had to have someone from the Houston Rockets, and Alperen Sengun, he gets in there. So I thought the West was exactly kind of what I expected. I mean, the one is, again, Domantas Sabonis is having individually just a fantastic season. He's one of the leaders. I mean, he leads the NBA in rebounds. He's way up there in EPM as well. I mean, he probably should be an all-star, but again, he just falls victim to the fact that you play in Sacramento. You are down there in the standings. I mean, if they were top 6, he probably gets into the all-star. the issue with the West, and I guess this is where we could get very controversial, is some of the starters, I don't think they should be in the All-Star game at all. So they kind of took spots from the people who are reserves that aren't going to get in there. So, I mean, they're very popular players. That's why they get into the starting five. But I don't have an issue with Sabonis being left out with who the reserves were. I think that's fine. I think all the reserves were 100% deserving of being there. But a couple starters, I don't know. They should be all-stars.
Yeah, different format this year. It'll be interesting to see if the guys take it seriously. A lot of criticism around the game here lately. Basically, a glorified scrimmage where everyone takes defense off, but maybe the new format will shake things up. Okay, something else I want to throw at you here before we get into our picks. So this clip it was actually up on the Covers Instagram account, Covers Sports on Instagram. Hit that follow. I'm there as well, JTFOZ, and Jon Metler's on Instagram as well. Give us all a follow there. For some reason, I felt like this was the first time I've ever seen Zion speak at length. It was easily the most animated I've ever seen him. He looks a lot different, too. You know, he kind of flies under the radar a little bit out there in New Orleans because he's on the Pelicans and because he doesn't play very often at all. But he's lost a lot of weight. He looks to be in the best shape of his career. But he was very animated in front of the press yesterday and saying, just so everybody knows, I want to let you guys know that if it was up to me, I would be playing in these back-to-backs, but the Pelicans don't want me to play in these back-to-backs, so I'm rocking with them. He's being a team guy, I guess, kind of, maybe protecting his image a little bit, but my big takeaway from that, and it's something for me to learn from as well, we often want to criticize the player in these situations. We all hate on Joel Embiid and Kawhi Leonard and Zion. Zion's like Joel Embiid light, the amount of time this guy misses. Sometimes it's not always up to the player. Sometimes the teams are doing what's in the best interest of the team, what they think is in the best interest of the player. So I guess shout out to Zion for explaining that. I do think he was protecting his image a little bit by doing that. So he was incentivized to do it that way. But what were your thoughts on that commentary from Zion?
Yeah, that I believe so. Like when they put in those rules for the load management and when guys could sit out and when they couldn't, and you could get, fined for it. The NBA sent a report to all the teams essentially explaining that they felt like the sport science of holding these guys out and like the load management, all these things was actually creating more injuries. So, and you've kind of seen like back and forth. I remember Kevin Durant, I think it was Kevin Durant, Stan Van Gundy kind of in exchange where Stan Van Gundy was saying on Twitter, like, we didn't have all these injuries way back in the day when we didn't really even care about minutes and we just kind of played guys. And I think people got used to it. So I think there's kind of like a fight right between the players and like the front office, where the front office is like applying all these like medical science, like you can't, play so many minutes. And that's what's happening to Zion, but Zion keeps getting hurt. I don't know. We really criticize Tom Thibodeau and what he does, but I mean, his players are like, if you just played 40 minutes every single night, wouldn't your body just get kind of used to it? Like just from it's like nothing to do with the NBA, but like I find it hard to, if you're handicapping the NBA, and it's like if I just did it Monday to Friday and then jump back in the following Monday and take the weekend off, I find that hard to do. It's a lot easier to just keep going 7 days a week. So I don't know. It's just like, I'm not sure. I mean, if he wants to play, why not play him? If he's been injured his entire career already, I don't know.
Try something different.
Yeah, I feel like they should just let them play, but that's my thought.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it too. I don't think there's anyone who's necessarily for load management. You don't hear a lot of people out there in the content space making a case for, hey, it is it's not, maybe for certain players it does work, but I don't think there's any type of evidence to say that, hey, this is great.
Well, that's what a lot of the players complain about. They're like, it's not me. Like, I'm not the one saying sit out. I'm not the one pulling myself from the game. It's the medical teams. Basically, I know they make them like wear bracelets that monitor like the wear and tear in their body and all these things. So it's kind of like it's a battle between the front office and the players, the load management thing. I don't think the players are actually for load management. I mean, there might be a couple players who, give me 24 hours. I'm old and sore or like whatever. But I think for the most part, the players want to play. So we'll see. It was interesting. That feels like a Zion saying that probably to free himself from whatever they're making him do.
Yeah, hopefully the NBA turns a corner on that. It's such a black eye on the league. You don't see that in other sports. Hockey's a pretty grueling sport. Those guys don't sit out. baseball. Well, baseball's obviously different, but yeah, that would suck so bad if that started carrying over to other sports. But if they could fix that, I think it would improve the image of the NBA quite a bit. Okay, John, let's get into some bets here. I'm 4-2 the past 2 shows. You swept yesterday. Let's put together another winning card here. Let's start down in Charlotte, where the Clippers are a pretty big favorite, double digits over the Hornets. You like Kawhi to do something tonight. What do you like for him to do?
Yeah, when Kawhi Leonard over 2.5 assists. So this was like plus 130 last night. I think the best price you'll see now is this plus 115. Kind of has moved to minus money, but I had a price at like minus 150. So even if you're looking at like a minus 105, you still have a good edge on it. The thing that really popped, like obviously there's a huge blowout potential. The Charlotte Hornets, they Brandon Miller's out. I think LaMelo Ball's out. They're basically leaning on Miles Bridges. They're missing a ton of guys. They're a huge dog. I think 14 points. But when you're looking at this, like Kawhi Leonard, you had an edge with him playing. I think about that. What I used was like 28 minutes, and that's kind of where his like minutes restriction has been. But they've also said that's on the rise. So when you're looking at a blow, it's like, okay, if he gets pulled, he doesn't play the fourth quarter, he's probably still going to get pretty close to that 28 minutes, especially if, say, the new restriction is like 31, 32. Like, he might get to that like 27, 28, even if it is a blow. Where if you're looking at someone like Norman Powell, it's, to establish an edge on the over, I need like 37 minutes. And will he get there? Probably not if it's a blow. So I just felt like even though there's that blow potential, it's still very much in play when just how they're using Leonard's minutes. And then also just like from an assist standpoint, who's guarding him one-on-one? They're going to have to help. There's not a single defender who can guard Kawhi Leonard. And then all of his teammates are going to be able to convert potential assists because the Hornets, they'll just go look at the roster they're putting out. So they'll be able to his teammates should be able to convert him. So give me the over.
Okay, next up, we're off to Toronto, where Chicago is in town. And I'm going to go under the total 232.5. So much for the Raptors tanking. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. Not doing as good of a job of tanking as the Washington Wizards, one of the best tank jobs in recent memory. Okay, so the Raptors are thriving on the defensive end right now. This is paving the way to them going 7-3 in their last 10 games. So third in defensive rating and points allowed in that 10-game span. Meanwhile, that matches up really well with a Bulls offense that's in a serious slump right now, 26 in offensive rating over the last 10 games. They've actually gone under in 12 of their last 17 games overall, and in 6 of their last 7 on the road. The Raptors at home have gone under in 5 of their last 6. So those are some trends and some stats. Let's get into some more stats. I don't think we're going to see a lot of action at the free throw line or from three-point land in this game. Bulls are top 5 in both free throw attempt rate and opponent free throw attempt rate over the last 10 games. Surprisingly, though, they're really good at three-point defense. They defend the arc. I think the 5th best in the NBA over the last 10 games. Meanwhile, the Raptors, one of the least active teams from the land beyond the arc. So I think we're in for a lower scoring game. I think the total's too high, so we'll go under 232.5 there. Next up, Porzingis. What do you like for him?
I went Porzingis over. It's open 18.5 points, jumped up to 19.5 points, but still low juice. And the gap was quite a bit for the probability there. So he's playing the Pelicans. It's kind of the same vibe with Kawhi Leonard, right? You're 10-point spread. You're worried about another blow, but Porzingis is showing an edge with a relatively low minutes projection as well. So you're not necessarily as worried about, what a blow might do to his minutes here. I mean, obviously if it's like a 40-point game, plays 20 minutes, you're screwed, but it's a 10-point spread. So it should be closer. His matchup is easy, and you've seen like he's a rookie. He's had like highlight dunks, highlight blocks, and he's like, although he's had those highlight blocks, he's not necessarily like a really good defender. I think it's just someone Porzingis will be able to take advantage of. And then also just like on the wings, the Pelicans, they're missing Herb Jones. I just think the driving kick game, they're going to get burned pretty good on it by the Celtics, just having multiple options who can dish out. And then Porzingis will be open 4 threes. You look at, they just played, I think, beginning of January, and Porzingis had 19 points. So like right there on this number, but he shot 7 for 19 from the field. So like, although he basically almost went over, by the half, he didn't have a good game. He didn't shoot it well. Like, you're taking 19 shots and your total is 19.5. I just feel like it's a matchup the Celtics will want to exploit. I think the total is a little too low, so I'm going to play the over.
Okay, next up, we are down in San Antonio, where the Milwaukee Bucks are in town. A couple big stars in this one, and we're going to take the Milwaukee Bucks to bounce back here You're probably calling them the Milwaukee Bucks after they lost to the Blazers last time out, and that's part of the reason why I like them here as a 2.5-point favorite. So they have been bouncing back strongly after losses here lately. Let's go check out this pattern. So they lose a game to Portland. The game after that, they beat the Raptors by 24. They lose a game to the Knicks. The game after that, they beat the Kings by 15. They lose a game to the Clippers. Next game, they bounced back and beat the Utah Jazz by 15 last time out. Like I said, on Tuesday, they lost to the Portland Trail Blazers. That's a really bad loss, so I do expect them to bounce back here. And they match up really well against the Spurs team that's been one of the worst defenses in the NBA over the past couple of weeks. They're allowing the most points per game and ranked 29th in defensive rating over the last 10 games. Bucks, one of the better offenses in the NBA here lately. Number 1 in EFG shooting percentage over the last 10 games, 5th in points per game. Now, these teams played back on January 9th. The Bucks beat them by 16. They were actually leading by 26 points with 6 minutes remaining in that game. So they kind of blew the doors off them in that game. I think potential for that again tonight as they look to bounce back. Okay, 2 more for John here. Andrew Wiggins, then an SGP. What do you like for Wiggins?
Yeah, Wiggins over 2.5 assists. This is not a number you would look at even like a year ago or maybe the beginning of the season. He's not a high assist guy, but which is how this Warriors offense is flowing. I mean, Wiggins is their number 2 option, like very clearly. Like you could argue, at the beginning of the season, you weren't even sure Wiggins would get 30 minutes a game. He might get pulled. They were leaning on other guys. That's not the case. I mean, Andrew Wiggins is having a good year, and the Warriors are so frustrating to me right now because Stephen Curry's at a point in his career where he shouldn't have to work this hard for everything he's doing. And he's just getting blitzed like crazy because they're essentially saying there's no one else on offense that, we're worried about. And it's creating the scenario where Andrew Wiggins, he's the number 2 option. He has to create, and you're looking at his potential assists the last 2 games, last 3 games, it's 6.7. I mean, that's pretty high for a guy who's total sitting at 2.5 plus 140. That's a big plus price. He's playing the Phoenix Suns. Defense optional with the Phoenix Suns, so I think that also plays here with the matchup. So I'm going over for Wiggins.
Okay, last pick of the week on the program here, John. You're taking a bit of a swing here in SGP. Break this one down for us.
Yeah, I'm going to the Pelicans Celtics game plus 850. So we're going Porzingis. I'm going to bump it up to 25 plus points because SGP, I feel like that's just kind of what you're looking for with an SGP. You're looking for a bigger plus price. I think Porzingis can obviously get there. When I was talking about last time he faced them, 7 for 19 from the field. He just shot, I don't know how many threes he hit, maybe like 8 or something in the last game. So I put the 3+3s made. For him, it's like if he's going to get to 25, he's probably making threes, and he just shot it really well in his last game. Lastly, I'm going DeJounte Murray, 20 plus points. This guy sees Celtics screen, and he turns into like prime Michael Jordan. I don't know. You can't explain it. I don't know. It's just how he plays. He just torched them last time. If you remember last year, I think with the Atlanta Hawks, Trae Young was out. I don't know if he had like 50 or he had a crazy amount of points and led them to a win. For some reason, he just torches the Celtics. So I'm going to go 20 plus points. That's an alt for him. If you want to make it 4 legs, I did submit a 4 leg. I'll put it on X. I also added Derek White 4+ assists, and that bumps it up to like just under 20 to 1. So you can do that one.
Baby.
As well. Yeah.
Cooking. Mick Smith, producer Mick. For those of you who did not know, his last name is Smith. Roman Reigns to win the Rumble, plus 300. We will acknowledge the tribal chief. Yeah, they're going to be interesting to see what they do with the Royal Rumble tomorrow night. I got John Cena, something different maybe. We'll see how they set up WrestleMania. But yeah, Royal Rumble on Netflix. How convenient is that? Okay, let's recap these picks here. Then I got a topic that I want to kick around here, and then we'll bring you guys up to speed on what's going on next week here at Cover. So Bulls, Raptors under 232.5, and Bucks minus 2.5 are my picks. John is going with Kawhi Leonard over 2.5 assists, Porzingis over 19.5 points, Andrew Wiggins over 2.5 assists, and this SGP, Pelican Celtics, he just broke it down. If you missed it, you can go back and watch the replay, plus 852. Okay, before we go, a little bit of a topic. Oh, there it is right there. Topic for the end. So I think it was on Wednesday, Cam Newton, who does a weekly spot on First Take. I think it was yesterday, actually. Stephen A. Smith asked him, would you rather have your MVP award that you won or a Super Bowl ring? And without any hesitation whatsoever, he would say, I'm taking my MVP. Now, a lot of people are critical of that opinion, but I think you have to look at this situation under different forms of context. Like, if you have a Super Bowl ring, but you're the fourth receiver or a special teams guy, what would you rather have? The Super Bowl ring in that scenario or an MVP of the league? Is it even debatable that you would take the MVP and everything that comes with it, as opposed to being just like a replaceable guy on a Super Bowl team? So yeah, it's kind of fun. Like, people don't get the gist of it, and everyone kind of came out and they hammered Cam Newton for that. And he does say a lot of really stupid stuff, being fair here. But what did you think of that commentary, John?
Yeah, I felt like the context was very important. I think he was implying, I don't think he was implying he would trade his like MVP for the Panthers Super Bowl against the Broncos, like straight up type thing. I think he was more or less viewing it from, would I rather have Trent Dilfer's career or my career? And I think a lot of people, I think you're like trained to say I would take a Super Bowl. But like the NBA example I was thinking about was like, if you had Robert Horry, who I think he has 6 rings with the Spurs, and like that's a lot of rings, right?
Rockets.
Or would you rather have Allen Iverson's career? And I think you're like trained to say Robert Horry, but I think everyone would take Allen Iverson. And I personally take Allen Iverson's career. I mean, you were like one of the best players in the NBA ever. You also look at Chris Paul, kind of falls in that category where it's like you're known as one of the best point guards in the history of the NBA, or a ring. I don't know.
Would you rather have Danny Green's career or Charles Barkley?
Yeah,
it's not debatable, people. So everyone coming out attacking, like the guys on there, oh, it's all about that ring. It's all about the ring. I guarantee there's so many players in professional sports where they're still competitive and they want to do well, but they get themselves in these situations where maybe you get drafted by a franchise who's a bit of a joke, but maybe you like the city that you live in. Your wife's happy there. Your kids go to a good school, and you're still making $20-30 million a year. So there's more things about just than winning the ring, right?
I'll hit you with this one because it just came in my head literally randomly. Would you rather have Tobias Harris' career, because he's got like $350 million in the bank, or would you rather win a title?
I'm probably taking that Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
Like, it's different. Like, it's hard for, like, if you take like a random baseball player who's the equivalent of Tobias Harris, who's made a lot of money, that guy can kind of fly under the radar a little bit within society. It's different for an NBA guy. Tobias Harris is probably 6'9" or whatever. So if he goes out to the shopping mall, the grocery store, he's going to get noticed, right? But yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's more about quality of life, I think. Yeah, and you want to win these rings, that's nice. And you do get some guys who are ultra competitive, and they would trade the $20 million a year for a ring or a shot at getting into the NBA Finals. So
think of all the good you could do with $300 million for your community or society instead of one ring.
Yeah, you could get a PlayStation 5, a bunch of games, an 80-inch TV, a boat, and contribute to your local food bank. How about that? Yeah, you could make a pretty big impact with that, to be serious. Okay, so housekeeping here. So before you bet will not be on next week, but we're not leaving you guys hanging from a content perspective, because myself and Jason Logan and a couple of our producers here at Covers, we're headed down to New Orleans. We're going to be doing a bunch of content on the ground there. We're going to be on Radio Row. We're going to be at one of the casinos doing a bunch of content there. So that's why you want to be subscribed here to the Covers YouTube channel, because it's all going to be dropping here and throughout our socials. Like I said, follow us on Instagram. If you're not following us on X, you should be following us there as well. But Jon Metler's not going to leave you hanging with NBA content and NBA picks. Make sure you're following him over on X. And the day of the Super Bowl, we're going to be doing a show at our normal time, myself, Jingles, and Jake Butt. It's going to be a little bit different, though. We're not just going to regurgitate the picks that we've been talking about. It's going to be the Super Bowl Big Money Bets edition. So we're talking parlays, anytime touchdown scores, some alt props, maybe. Because, some people come out just once a year. They want to bet $10, $20, and they want to get more bang for their buck. So we're going to be crunching some numbers and coming up with the best big money spots here for Chiefs Eagles. So make sure you tune in then. Okay, that does it for the show today. Thank you to John for joining another great NBA show. 25 minutes on the NBA. going to be NBA heavy here in a couple weeks when the NFL goes away. Thank you to producer Mick. Did a great job with the recap graphic. I think he might have been 5 for 5 on the week. Wow. He's peaking at the right time, like Patrick Mahomes. Producer Mick is peaking at the right time, so shout out to him. Thank you to everyone for tuning in, especially the guys and girls who participated in the live chat today. And thank you to BetMGM. Make sure you check them out for all your sports betting needs. Great offering, an avalanche of prop betting options for the Super Bowl. So check them out. All right, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Best of luck with all your bets tonight and over the course of the weekend. We will see you guys again next time. Let's go, Bucks! Woo!